Hi, I'm Joan Newcomb, and today's Mystic Minute is let it go. What happens when you let your personality die? I'm going to amend that to say letting aspects of your personality die, because unless you're Eckhart Tolle or Byron Katie, you're probably not going to wake up one morning and have no personality whatsoever. It's more than likely that throughout your life there will be times where chunks of your personality just disintegrate. And you might be going through something now, because I'm seeing a lot of people do that now, is come up against parts of their personality that they're very attached to, and it is crumbling, it is disintegrating. So real quick, what happened to Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie? Very similar story for each of them, is that they were each in a huge depression and hit this breaking point, hit this turnaround point where they woke up and their personality was absent. I mean, Byron Katie describes it as waking up and having no identity or sense of identity. It's like being a newborn in this world and not knowing what anything was. And Eckhart Tolle's breakthrough was he was suicidal, and he said to himself, I cannot live with myself any longer. And then suddenly was, who is this I that cannot live with myself? And it just created this schism. Most of us aren't hitting that profound a breakthrough, where your entire picture gallery of identity is gone, but most of us are having big chunks kind of disintegrate as we are all going through kind of a collective evolution, and it feels to many like a collective earthquake. So those things that feel the most solid and real to you are the parts that are disintegrating and giving away. It can be very painful. It probably is very painful because you're very attached to those things. They felt like your anchor points. They felt like your grounding points. They felt like your placement in reality. Well, the good news is that what comes through, what shines through at the end of this process is you, is the essence of you comes shining through. So the more true you shines through when you drop these identifying factors. I'll give you some examples in my own life of things that were extremely painful. One profound change was in my divorce, and when I left that marriage, I lost a huge chunk of identity that I had been in for 14 years. It was gone. Big gaping hole. And it actually affected my identity as a mother as well, because then I had my children part-time. So then I had these big gaping pieces of time where I was not actively parenting. And both of those things, being a wife and being a mother, had been huge, valuable parts of my existence. And although I didn't stop being a mother, it wasn't my full hands-on thing anymore. It was very disorienting, very uncomfortable. I also lost being a homeowner at that time. It felt like my entire landscape had been razed to the ground. And in the process of all of that happening was when I was also making a huge leap forward, quantum leap forward in my spirituality. I had begun to incorporate the principles from Findhorn, which is a very loving community and interacting with nature. And so this enormous experience of love started coming in at the same time, this incredibly painful loss. So in this process of losing your identity, or losing the aspect of your identity that you have held so dear, and I've observed this in people who went through the last huge economic downturn and they lost their career, they lost the part of themselves that they identified as that particular career was gone. They also lost their homes, stopped being homeowners, lost that aspect. Big gaping holes in things that had anchored them into this reality. Interestingly enough, what got replaced was a deeper spirituality, a stronger practice of being in the world. And then a painful period of integration as they brought all that back into a new form of working, a new way of working and being in the world. I think we not only grieve the loss of the identity, but we're terrified of what's coming next, because it's like we've moved into a new landscape and the pathway is not so clear. I remember when I got divorced, I went back to college, not because I wanted to go back to college, but it's because what divorced women do. And it was really a painful time on top of a painful time, because I had no identification with any of these other people going to school. And really what that experience illustrated to me was what it was like to be without a calling. And I have always operated with a calling. I've always had a deep feeling of mission in the world. It just got expressed in different ways. And there I was in college trying to figure out how to fit into the real world. And that was my big learning, was that most of the people feel this way. Most of the people feel disconnected from their calling, or even the idea of having a calling. There are folks churning their way through to get their master's in whatever, part-time, didn't want to waste a lot of time having an experiential experience. Just wanted that piece of paper to further their career. Very interesting to me. So we're at this collective state now of things breaking down and leading to greater breakthroughs. We're observing in the world today of really challenging stories happening in the storyline, and yet what's resulting out of it is people feeling more highly motivated to participate, illustrating what your values are and feeling like taking action, and unfolding for folks different ways of being and doing things. And in my own life, I'm just noticing another breaking down, breaking through point. I don't have a lot of words to articulate it. I know that I'm moving up to the next level. I have a little bit of fear that I'm going to turn into a Byron Katie or Eckhart Tolle. I personally think that they would probably be really challenging to live with. I feel uncomfortable anticipating having a life that feels so non-directive. I'm a Taurus. Like to be grounded in this reality. Talk a lot about all these esoteric things. And yet I have this earth part about how does this get expressed in form. And I just realized that that's a lot of the breakdown, breakthrough process. There's been an aspect of my own personality that really likes the idea of being able to change and fix and manipulate and control the world outside of myself. And I know that doesn't work, especially when you hit a certain level of consciousness and realize that this reality is an illusion. And one of the things I'm noticing nowadays is that the opposite is true. So try your old ways, and more than likely those old ways aren't working and you have to do the opposite. Try to be really aggressive and domineering, it's going to backfire. My original ways of manifestation don't work anymore. If you try to do the secret law of attraction by the books, that stuff actually misses. What it misses is the attraction part, the art of allowing part of it. It's more of an internal change, an internal shift, a centering within. The center of the hologram is within. I don't know how this is all going to unfold. I'm being willing to sit with the discomfort of it and to see what else emerges. What we go through as we're letting our ego die, the aspect of our personality die, is we're actually giving birth to the greater aspect of ourselves. You're birthing the new you. Take deep breaths. You may need to walk around and breathe, or you may need to sit back and suck on ice cubes, whatever the birth process is for you. But know that something greater is emerging, and it really is you, the essence of who you are. And reality so needs your light. If you like these videos, you can subscribe to them on YouTube. You can also sign up below to get them in your inbox. If you want to know more, my website is joan-newcomb.com. I do a weekly radio show and podcast, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, where we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. I also write a weekly newsletter and blog post writing about all these issues. I do these videos once a week now. I also go around the Puget Sound in Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue, University Place, and other places, leading conscious conversations so we can talk about these things. And I also introduce techniques for navigating your life. And if you want to know more about how to navigate your life as consciousness, how to more easily and gracefully go through these expansion, birth to greater consciousness experiences, then go to joan-newcomb.com and look at my coaching programs. So go to joan-newcomb.com, and I'll see you in a couple days with another Mystic Minute.